Click, listen, enjoy.
Broadcasting live worldwide.
Thank you for tuning in to
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Well, you know what I say. Zev Brenner is the voice of Long Beach.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner, and we are doing a tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak of blessed memory, who I knew for so many years. In fact, I received an email. I was trying to find it, but it had to be at least 15 or 20 years ago, inviting me to come to the University of Long Beach. He was a passionate advocate for his shul, for his community, for all our community. And since that time, I got involved in the shul. I work with Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak on an 8:30 minyan every morning, which is still continuing in his memory, thank God, and also the summer lecture series. And he was just such a tremendous personality. I can't believe that a year has gone by since he has passed. His first yahrzeit is being commemorated, and we're paying a tribute. And there's so much to talk about, and we're only going to cover and scratch the surface of the personality, the impact he had on not just on Long Beach but on the Jewish community. We have a whole array of people, and we'll hear from Yehuda Green and Rabbi Benjamin Silver and Rabbi Yaakov Weisenberg and Rabbi Naftali Sedron and Rabbi Cheskel Rosenberg. But right now, joining us is Shmuel Kahn, director of HASC, where Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak served as clinical director for so many years. Rabbi Ephraim Polikoff, the rabbi based Tefillah in Woodmere. He also was assistant rabbi under Rabbi Chaim Wakslak, especially during the time of Sandy, which took its toll on the Long Beach community. Dr. David Diamond is chairman of the board of the Young Israel of Long Beach. So, Shavua Tov, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the program. Let me begin with you, Shmuel. You worked for so many years, had a close relationship with Rabbi Wakslak. Tell us about it, and tell us what he has accomplished for HASC.
Get to work, everybody. Shavua Tov, and thank you for having me on the show. And it's a covet to be able to tell you about Dr. Wakslak. He touched so many people, both in the field of disabilities and at HASC for sure, and I'm sure the same thing in the community of Long Beach, which meant so much to him. He probably gave 100% of his time to the community of Long Beach, but I can also tell you he gave 100%, 150% of his time to the community, to the HASC family as well. And I know Dr. Wakslak since about 1975. We have worked together on a part-time basis. He used to come every Thursday for many, many years, and then just around the turn of the century, around the year 2000, we needed him. That it was that important that he joined our staff as the clinical director full-time, and he really gave every minute of his time plus more. Any time he had to stay late was never a problem, never an issue, and he stayed late and he came early. And it was just it was like a covet to work with him, to sit with him for hours daily, solving problems, solving issues, and helping HASC grow in the right way, and helping the people that really need our help. He was just an amazing person, and it takes many people to fit his shoes right now, and we really miss him. I can't imagine a year has passed already since he joined us, since he left us, actually. It's been a very difficult year because things that seemed so simple when we had issues, questions to ask, and what to do with it in different situations became a matzav now, and we really miss him. We miss his knowledge and miss him as a person, and the staff themselves miss him because in the afternoons, like 2-3 o'clock until the end of the day, he kept on any staff person that wanted to see and meet him and discuss different things, different ways, different projects, or different issues in their department, had a chance to come into him and on a one-on-one, and he encouraged them and gave them chizuk to do not only to do their job but to do it better, and how to serve the individuals that we are responsible for, how to serve them better, and to bring out the best in everyone's life, and that was him.
I don't know where he found the time to do everything. He got up before 5 o'clock in the morning, and he gave hashkachas, and he made sure everything was running properly, and devoted time, as you said, 150% to Hask. He devoted 150% to Long Beach. People came to him day and night with issues and problems, and he always did it. And I know from my own experience, he took care of the smallest thing, because I arranged for speakers every week in the summertime. He made sure they had a place where to stay and where to eat, and took care of their transportation. He took care of every minor detail. I don't know how he did it. And it's just amazing. And as you said, from Hask, he devoted himself so much and had a tremendous impact. And as you said, it takes a number of people to do what he did. I'm sure the same thing is true in Long Beach. So he dedicated himself heart. When he got involved, he dedicated his heart and soul into it.
It just brings back a memory, one memory, that when the storm, when Sandy was there, how he put his total life into making sure that everyone in his community was well and had what to eat, and he slept things from Brooklyn, food and all types of anything that they needed came from Brooklyn, because in Brooklyn it was readily available. Long Beach didn't have anything at the time because of the floods and all that stuff, and it meant nothing to him. It was just like part of his life, just to help the people out there get back to normal life there. The Daf Yomi in the morning. I'm going to tell you a small story. There was an individual, a person that lived in New Jersey that came from a state operation and came over to our agency to work with us. And was no big learner or anything, but we met together. Dr. Wakslak, myself, and him met together almost every morning for a half hour to an hour, just to review different things that person was responsible for. And every morning, Dr. Wakslak would, just as a part of the conversation, would mention the Daf Yomi, or something about the Daf. And we went on to talk. This person used to complain about fighting the traffic every morning to get to Brooklyn. Dr. Wakslak told him, why don't you leave your house 5:30 or 5:15, you get to Brooklyn at 6 o'clock, there's no traffic, go here is a shul right on your way, and then Rabbi Flam's shul near Ocean Parkway there was right on his way, and he had a place to park. Go there, and you'll daven, learn the Daf Yomi, then come to work. And it happened. The guy listened and did that, and this goes back probably close to 20 years ago. The guy is so into the daf now, he would never miss a daf. He lives in Israel now, but we're still in communication, and he always thanks Dr. Wakslak for giving him the idea of starting the daf. One simple thing, small story, but yet so big.
It is so big, and like I said, he learned. In fact, I have to say this: the Gloria Paris of one of our congregants. Okay, what thing that I said? Gloria Paris, or one of our listeners and congregants said when I was talking about Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak, I said, "Oh, they don't make rabbis like that anymore." Well, I said she said they don't make people like that, and they don't make mention like that anymore. He was able to accomplish so much with that. You mentioned the Sandy. Let me turn to our other guests, and we were paying tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak tonight. And let me turn to Rabbi Ephraim Polakov, who's now the rabbi of Beis Tefillah in Woodmere, New York, but he also was assistant rabbi during the Sandy years. So tell us about your association. First of all, good to have you on. I remember when you were in Long Beach, and we miss you, but I know you're on to some great things in Woodmere. But tell us about your relationship and your experience during Sandy.
Sure, good to thank you, Zev, for having me on the show. And it's truly a kavod to be able to share some memories of Rabbi Dr. Wakslak. So just to paint a little bit of a picture in terms of my, somewhat unique relationship. My wife's mother is Rabbi Wakslak's sister. So my wife is Rabbi Wakslak's niece, And that's how I kind of, got introduced to Long Beach. At the time, Long Beach was looking for an assistant rabbi. Rabbi Wakslak asked me if I was interested. I was learning at the time and, thinking about going into Rabbanos. And I thought it was a great opportunity, not only to, begin my career in Rabbanos, but also to get to know Fetter Chaim, as we called him in the family, to get to know him a little bit more intimately and a little bit better, and to learn from him. And I applied for the job and went through the process, and Baruch Hashem was selected. In fact, we ended up with several assistant rabbis, and myself, Rabbi Silver, who's currently the rabbi in the Young Israel of Long Beach, and Rabbi Chaim Akselrod, who's in New Rochelle now. And we had a wonderful experience in Long Beach, learning from Rabbi Wakslak and engaging with the community and teaching. It was truly, truly special years. That's how I ended up, beginning my career in Long Beach.
Now you were there during you were there during the Sandy time, and I said to Rabbi Wakslak,
exactly right.
He reminded me of the Medrash of Avram Avinu, because they say that Avram was the captain of the world in good times, but he's also the captain in the stormy times. And Rabbi Wakslak was there during the good times and stormy times. So what was that like?
So he was so dedicated to helping everyone in need. And he was a man of so many different hats, like we just heard from Shmuel Khan, the clinical director at the HESC Center, and Rabbi of the Young Israel of Long Beach, and it was almost like Shmuel said it, as soon as the superstorm or the hurricane hit, he just switched his hat to rescue mode, and he just became a one man rescue mission, and it was just unbelievable. He never left Long Beach. He stayed, through the hurricane. And I still remember, for whatever reason, I always think this is a nace, but the Young Israel of Long Beach did not get a drop of water. It's only, Zev, it's only about 2 blocks from the beach. And most of the locations in that area were completely flooded.
Almost all, and the shul didn't get any water, and his house didn't get any water either, where he lived.
Right, exactly.
It's a miracle.
Exactly. There was nothing. And the shul just all of a sudden turned into a rescue mission. And he converted the whole basement of the shul. I still remember, piles and piles of supplies that people had donated to Long Beach. And, he just became the coordinator. People were calling from other communities to come help and to come assist, to clean up and to clean out people's homes, donations, clothing and food and diapers. I still remember, every night there was food. He would bring food, like Shmuel said, he would bring food from Brooklyn and just set up hot food for people, catered meals, for free, just, in the basement of the Young Israel of Long Beach. And no one ever knew exactly, where he got the food, how he got the food, who paid for the food. It didn't matter. And honestly, I think so much of it, came from his own pocket, because to him, it wasn't about a job and making a salary and getting something, doing what he had to do. It was about caring for people. It was about taking care of people. It was about making sure that people had what they needed. And after Long Beach, when the community was devastated and people, literally, had lost thousands of dollars worth of possessions and didn't know where to turn, he was the address that people turned to. People turned to him privately, and I'm sure he helped. We don't even know the scope of it, but I'm sure he helped people privately, financially, with counseling and things like that. But he just turned the whole community, the whole shul, into a help center to help, anybody who needed. He coordinated all the volunteers. There were buses coming in from other locations, and he was the one who was coordinating the volunteers and when they should come and where they should go to and what they should do. He was just he was really a one-man show. He was just a one-man show, and he was able to care for so many people and to really help people get back on their feet. That's what they needed after Superstorm Sandy.
Absolutely right, and he did whatever had to be done, and that made it so special. And you saw he was a real role model, what a rabbi should be. Like I said, didn't stand in a sermon, did everything to help his community, his congregants, in so many different ways. And while he was a man of a tremendous amount of Torah knowledge and learning, gave wonderful shiurim, but at the same time, he was a Rav in Chesed. He knew how to help people, and that, I think, is his legacy. And you witnessed that firsthand, Rabbi Polakov.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
I want to say
like
one
you said,
more thing.
Everything was just, to roll, what can I do to roll up my sleeves and to get the job done? I still remember at the time when I was in Long Beach, I had just started working also in DRS Yeshiva High School in Woodmere, where Baruch Hashem I continue working today. And I remember I had a shir Shabbaton. I invited my boys to Long Beach for Shabbos, and we put them up in different homes, and we had a wonderful Shabbos together. Now I remember I was trying to figure out where am I going to get the food for the Shabbaton? How am I going to get it? And I was talking to Rabbi Wakslak, and he said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." And I said, "What?" He said, "Don't worry, I got it." And I still remember he took care of everything, literally from soup to nuts. He took care of everything. He brought the food himself. He set it up himself. I mean, it was mind-boggling. Just someone, like you said, who was a Talmid Chacham, who gave shiurim, and who cared for people. And here, this was something he didn't have to busy himself with. This was not a shul function. It was just a private thing. I was having my boys, from the shir for Shabbos, and he just said, I'll take care of it. And he just literally, without even thinking, without beating, without missing a step, he just took care of the entire Shabbaton. That's just who he was. Nothing was a big deal. And it was just a matter of, what can I do to help, someone else, to make someone else life easier, to make someone else enjoy Yiddishkeit, enjoy Shabbos, enjoy life a little bit more. That's what he was all about as a person.
Shmuel, you were going to say something.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say also, I want to touch a little bit on his professional career, his psychology, and his way of handling people. Over the years, in such a quiet way, we sat for hours daily working on things, and in between, he would get a call, and you can hear that the person that he's talking to has a shalom bias problem, or a problem with a child, how to deal with things. And he would tell him, "Come to my office and I'll talk to you." He gave him an appointment for the afternoon when things are all calmer in the office. And the person, and I know he didn't charge anybody. So many people owe their shalom bias to him. So many people owe their way of bringing up their children because of his advice. You can't imagine. It was so beautiful to hear how he said something to somebody over the phone. We sit for hours. People always call him, and how the respect he had for anybody. Some people would call up yelling. You can hear it through the receivers. They're upset about things. He calmed people down. "I'll talk to you. Just come to my office." He gave them a time today, tomorrow, the next day. "Come, we'll talk about it, and we'll work it out for you." And it was just so beautiful.
It certainly was.
I miss hearing it.
I miss him too. I was very close with him,
and that was his professionalism. His covered abriyas that he had for people was something so special.
And he and his Rebbetzin did so much chesed, and I met many rabbis, and I've never come across anybody like it. It was still a hate. It was not. I don't even know a fraction of the chesed that he and his wife have done over the course of time. It helps so many people and change people's lives for the better. In fact, what Rabbi Pollock, what you said about his home and his shul not being touched by water, I think that's a sign from heaven also, that almost every house was devastated in Long Beach, but Young Israel Long Beach wasn't, and his home wasn't, and that to me says
he was talking about that a lot. Yes, he was talking. He said that several times. My house wasn't touched.
Exactly, and that's a miracle. I can tell you that, because my house was touched. It was touched, and he was helpful. He got volunteers, and he directed people to come and help, and he was tremendous with that. Let me turn to Dr. David Diamond, the chairman of the board of the Young Israel Long Beach, who knew the rabbi for so many years. So, thank you. Any thoughts that go through your mind as you listen to our conversation?
Good to Bob, Zev. Thank you for including me in this very special conversation. So I know that everyone who knew Rabbi Wakslak Zatzal felt that they had a very special and personal relationship with him because he made them feel that way. And everyone has their special and intimate memories of their interactions with him. My relationship started before we even moved into Long Beach. Erev Shabbos, he called. He introduced himself, and he said, "If there's anything you need, I know you're moving in, anything you need, just call me," which is really the essence of who he was. He knew everyone. He was able to relate to everyone according to their needs and their personalities. And he was a doer. He didn't sit still. If he had something to do, it got done. And I like telling people that I found out I was a vice president of the shul when I read about it in the newsletter that he published.
Okay, I can believe that. Yes.
since then I had this chus to learn from him, to work with him. He was truly a role model, and I'm continuing that to this very day. And he was a visionary who had the skills to actualize his visions. But I want to tell you, you've been talking about Hurricane Sandy, and my thoughts about that. It's such a powerful memory. Everyone who was affected, who was here, who was affected, will remember. I saw that the Rav literally became the father of our community. He took care of everyone with the help of some very special members of the shul and with people from out of Long Beach. He, as Rabbi Polakov said, he turned the young Israel of Long Beach into an emergency community center. He facilitated ensuring there were 3 meals a day, including hot food. There were tables full of clothing and basic necessities. He made sure that the minyanim continued every day, and no one can forget what he did and really saved us from that disaster. But a very powerful image that I have. There were piles of dirt down at the beach making mountains. And when Hanukkah came, because it was around that time, he had this vision. He did something that was amazing. We had this big Hanukkah that he would use at outdoor community Hanukkah lighting every night of Hanukkah. He carried that huge Hanukkah. After a few steps, he needed some help. It was a difficult climb, and it was a heavy Hanukkah, but he managed to get up there and to light the Hanukkah up on that mountain. Very powerful event for everyone. And if I can just finish my thoughts, he was a true community leader, and his legacy continues, as you all know, to this day. He made sure we had a mikveh, made sure we have an Eruv that checked and is kosher every Shabbos. He established the Vad of Kashrus, and so we had kosher establishments where we can get food. And he's famous for his daf yomi. Every morning at 5:30 in the morning, he gave daf for many, many years. And I feel very strongly, Zev, that anyone in Long Beach, any organization, any shul that promotes Long Beach and talks about the mikveh, the food, the eruv, the daf, really should pay tribute to Rabbi Wakslak Zatzal as the Rav of Young Israel of Long Beach and the facilitator of everything that this Orthodox Kehillah needs. And I really feel that you can't separate Rabbi Wakslak from the Young Israel of Long Beach. I don't know if it goes out of line to say it, but it would be like separating Moshe Rabbeinu from Yetzias Mitzrayim.
He certainly was affiliated with Loma. He was proud of all the kosher establishments. Listen to this.
As you well know, we have a kosher bakery, a kosher butcher takeout store. We have the Dunkin' Donuts. We have Carvel and other establishments. So we lack for no availability to satisfy one's food needs.
He was proud of everything Long Beach. Before I let you go, Dr. Diamond, there was something that really, when I heard this, I just was, just so overwhelmed, is that the day before he passed away, and then those that may not know, he turned sick a week before he passed. It took a week from when he was diagnosed with a sickness, and he died within a week or so. The day before he passed away, he spoke to you and other leaders of the University of Long Beach. Tell us about that.
I know he spoke to Joseph Langer and to President Nelson Spies. They went to the house. He spoke to them in person. I'm a dentist, as you know, and I treated patients during that time and now. And just because what was going on with the Rav, I usually don't keep my phone with me, but I felt that just in case I needed to have my phone. And it did vibrate, and I excused myself from the patient, and it was Rabbi Wakslak. And he spoke to me, and I have to tell you, it was very emotional. I asked him if I was going to see him again. He told me no. I was crying for much of the conversation, but he did charge us with making sure that the shul continues and we build the shul. And he said, and this is really, again, just showing the type of person he was, being concerned even at that moment for everyone else. And he said that he wants us to be happy. And my answer to that was, Rabbi, it's going to be a long time before we're happy. And that's the last time I spoke with him.
Wow. Wow. And just what blew me away is that the day before he passed away, he knew that he only had a limited amount of time, but he took time to speak to you and the leadership of the shul, to give directions and to see if the shul should flourish and continue to grow. And that, to me, that speaks volumes of what kind of person he was.
He was irreplaceable, as everyone knows. As you've heard tonight, we know his position at HASC. Everyone knew it, but as Shmuel Khan said, it takes several people to replace what he did. And with all due respect to anyone else, I don't think anyone can do what he did at the level that he did it.
Totally concur. I want to thank you, Dr. David Diamond, Shmuel Khan, Director of HASC. Thank you. And thank you, Rabbi Ephraim Polakov, Beis Tefillah of Woodmere, for sharing some insights into the legacy of Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak of Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Thank you.
Thank you, Zev.
That's good for everybody.
And Zev, I just want to say that may his memory inspire us to be the best people we can be.
Amen.
That's what he wants.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Good
Thank you.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, Zev. Baruch Hashem, I think that unfortunately we Jewish people we have the sense of coming together and uniting in the face of tzara, which is a natural response. But wouldn't it be wonderful if we were able to experience the sense of unity and understand that what we have in common is much more significant than that which divides us. And the other thing is that we've already experienced historically situations where we were brought together and everyone was unified. And unfortunately, as soon as the crisis passes, we tend to revert very quickly back to the way things were. So it behooves us to really look at the etiology and to really try to understand why it is that we cannot be together and united, recognizing our differences while still understanding that we're working towards a common purpose. There are many ways, shivim panim laTorah. There are different approaches, and there are different attitudes. Each one of us has our own responsibility. We have our own talents, and if we were to recognize and to appreciate the talents of others, we would understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want the complete uniformity, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants each person to be unique and to serve him in the way that is particular to them.
You're listening to our special tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak. He was the spiritual leader of the University of Long Beach. He also was clinical director at HASC. And when we come back, we'll continue our conversation. We'll speak to Yehuda Green. We'll speak to Rabbi Naftali Sirton of the Carlebach Shul. We'll speak to Rabbi Cheskel Rosenberg. We'll speak to Binyamin Weinberger. We'll speak to Rabbi Binyamin Silver, the current spiritual leader in Israel of Long Beach. We'll speak to Simi Weber, so you don't want to miss our special broadcast.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Talkline Radio and TV with Zev Brenner is just phenomenal. Everybody concerned about the Jewish community should listen and watch. He has the best guests. He asks the most interesting questions. He's always so well prepared. It's talk radio and television from a Jewish point of view at its very best.
To advertise on the Talkline network and Talkline's email and social media blasts reaching over 70,000 people, please call 212-769-1925, extension 100. That's 212-769-1925, extension 100. Or email info@talklinenetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
Welcome back. You're hearing Yehuda Green in the background sing "The Rebbe is the Rebbe is here," and Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak was of Hasidic background, and I'll call him my Rebbe. He certainly was a lot of people's Rebbe. He taught us a lot of different things. So, good vach, Yehuda Green. We appreciate you being here with us. Good vach to Rabbi Naftali Sitron, the spiritual leader of the Carlebach Shul in Manhattan. Rabbi Yaakov Weisenberg served as assistant rabbi under Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak at the University of Long Beach, and Dr. David Diamond is the chairman of the board. Let me first begin with Rabbi Diamond. You had another thought you wanted to share with our audience.
And we've been speaking about what the Rav Zatzal has accomplished, but we also know, and it goes without saying, but it should be said, that there's an Eze Kenegdo, that Rebbetzin Wakslak stood by him through everything that he did. She herself, in her own right, is a tremendous Balas Chesed, and it's unimaginable the grief that she and the family felt losing him after 1 week, and yet Rebbetzin Wakslak continues to do the chesed that she always did, and we all owe her a great debt and hakaras hatov.
Agree with you. I mean, they were a wonderful team. They did so much still hate. I mean, it's quietly where nobody knew about the stuff that they did, and so many lives were touched by it. And I appreciate your sharing that, because they were a team, and a lot of it is going on. And I can't believe it's a year, and we're commemorating a year's yahrzeit. So I turn to Rabbi Naftali Sitron, the spiritual leader of the Carlebach Shul. You've been out many times, I think, for the Carlebach Shabbaton in Israel. Yehuda Green was part of that Carlebach Shabbaton. So you had some special relationship with, not only with Rabbi Wakslak directly, but your grandfather, Rav Eli Chaim, had also a very strong relationship with Rabbi Wakslak.
Yes, Evan, and thank you for having me on the show. I was told many, many years ago that Rabbi Wakslak was particularly close. He was a ben bias by my grandfather, by Rabbi Chaim Carlebach, in Hillside in Newark. So I knew right away that I wanted to connect with him, and we developed a bond over the years, and very happy to say that there's been some form of a Carlebach Shabbos almost continuously from even before I got here, but for the last 10 years or so, I've been going there often with Yehuda Green. And lately we do a Shabbos on the boardwalk, and then Shabbos Day by Young Israel, and he's a hero to the local community in terms of what he did after the hurricane, and what he did day in, day out.
No question about that. He was just such a special individual. And Yehuda Green, I always enjoyed listening to you, and especially when you were in Long Beach and at Young Israel's Mamish Gewalt. So I know that you've been coming out for many, many years. So tell us about your relationship with Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak.
Okay, good morning, Zev. I want to also thank you, the Rabbi, for having us on the show. And thank you to the entire Kehillah that they hosted us. This was really memories. Those are memories that will never be forgotten. My experience is that it's very hard to, as it is, that Rabbi Wakslak Zichronet Tzaddik Levocha is in Gan Eden, but we should know that he is with us. Like the song before you started playing the song, The Rebbe is Door, I'm saying to the whole Kehillah, they should know that Rabbi Wakslak is with them all the time, with all of us. He's here. The Rebbe is there, and the love that he gave to all of you, to the whole Kehillah, and to the entire, Jews or ever were there just visiting. He gave so much love, and I'm sharing with you what I saw from the stage when I was performing on the beach. I could see him around, how he's sheping nachas, and that he's spreading the word of Hashem, even with non-Jews. He was so happy of making this Kiddush Hashem. He did it with so much love, and I'm telling you, it wasn't easy for him to do that. I know what was involved, and he gave so much. This is Ba'esha of mine to give nachas to the Kehillah, and to be Mikad Hashem Shamayim in the city of Long Beach. I miss him so much, and I can say I even learned from him something. Maybe the rabbi or you will remind me that he was, what was he singing when he will do the Kiddush Shabbos day? He sang it on a song, and he was so proud to share this with us. I don't remember which song he used for that Kiddush. There was so much joy to spend between the Shabbos, and I'll miss him forever. What I want to say to him, to the Rebbetzin, that when I was visiting in Chicago once for a dinner that I was performing there, and the host was, the guest of honor was Rechni, and I was able to see his son-in-law, his grandson. So the grandson is giving so much nachas to them. You could see they have a lot of, all the investment, they have what they do in their family and for Klali Soil, for the city of Long Beach. Hashem is paying them with great nachas. I miss him very much.
I echo that sentiment. And as you were talking, I don't know if I made it clear before, when there was Sandy, when Rabbi Wax was bringing food, he fed Jew and non-Jew alike, whoever needed. Kol dechvin yeseviyech, whoever was hungry was able to come and eat. He took care of everybody. It wasn't just the Jewish community. He helped anybody in need. Rev Naftali, do you remember the song, the Kalbach song that he used, that Rev Wax used when he made Kiddush?
I remember how he would get very nostalgic every time I would come, and he would really give a lavish introduction to me that I didn't deserve, but it was part of who he was. I know Reb Yaakov, I think it was Reb Yaakov, was once giving a shir when he was the assistant rabbi there, if I'm not mistaken, on Birchas Hanenin, about different questions about different foods. And he came to me and he said, what a privilege I have to have such a Talmud Chacham here teaching like this. He was just, he loved to give compliments about people because he cared about them, and he wasn't cheap at all. When he was always just lavish in his praise, always bringing people up.
Rev Yaakov, that's a good to bring you in. So you remember that, and I know that you gave lectures. You're running the 830 Minyan at the Israel Long Beach. You were a former assistant rabbi under Rabbi Wakslak. So tell us about that. You were there with the Kabach Shabbatonim with Yehuda and Rev Naftali and the whole Chevra.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I would say, like as you mentioned, he came from a Hasidic family. I believe a Ger Hasidic family, and he learned the Torah V'das. He has Zicha from the Vidalia Shore, but he was someone who was very eclectic, and I think he was passionate about his Talmud Torah, and I have the privilege now to continue giving his Daf Yomi Shir, which he pioneered in the shul for many decades, and that was really, he started, unbelievably, 5:30 every morning, giving the Daf Yomi Shir, like I said, over decades. So just been he went through Shas, I think 4 cycles, something along those lines. In fact, he just was Messiah Shas with the most recent Siyam Daf Yomi. But he was someone who excelled in Talmud Torah, was Talmud Chacham, of notes, Paskin Shilas. That's on the one hand, but then, of course, he had that warmth, and I know he was very close with the Karlbach family, and he had a Hasidic warmth and a Hasidic passion for his Yiddishkeit. You could see whenever it came to nigunim, to singing during davening, and he often, not I shouldn't say often, but he on occasion led the davening, the Birchas HaChodesh, and definitely on Yom Kippur, he was the one who davened Nehila. You could see just the way he was literally sweating. You could see the perspiration, but because of his passion and his excitement for God and for Judaism, so he really, on the one hand, he was a serious Talmud Chacham who was Marbitz Torah to the Rabbin, and it's obviously not at all a contradiction, but you don't often find it in both people. Both have the intellect and the passion and the warmth, that he really embodied. So it was a privilege to serve under him, and I learned a lot from him. And I'll just actually, if I have a chance, I know I mentioned this idea to the Rebbitzin, and she encouraged me to share it, that, there are some people that you don't really appreciate fully the scope of their contributions to a community until they're not there anymore. Like, the first Rashi in Parshas Vayetze, it says, Vayetze Yaakov in Beersheva Vayelech Harana. So Rashi asked, why does it have to say Yaakov left Beersheva? Obviously, if he went to Haran, he left where he came from, Beersheva. So Rashi famously said, because Yitzias Tzaddik min hamakom oser roshem. When a tzaddik takes leave of a place, it makes an impression. That so long as he's there, he's the city's beauty and splendor. But when he leaves, then that splendor and beauty that was there is a void left. And I think Rabbi Wakslak was someone who embodied that idea. He was someone involved in every aspect of the communal life, whether it was the kashrus, the eruv, the mikvah, Young Israel in particular, but just, the broader community. He was really almost, in a sense, the de facto chief rabbi of Long Beach, and he had his finger in every aspect of the community. And it's really, now that he's not here, it's unbelievable to think how one person really wore so many hats and accomplished so much. So it's really almost in his absence that we kind of took it for granted. Oh, yes, so the Wakslak is going to take care of this, he's going to take care of that, and the concerts, and just on and on and on, shiurim. But now that he's not here, you see it was really, to what an extent it was almost a one-man show. It's really, really remarkable. So he's definitely missed.
And definitely missed. Rav Naftali, how many years have you been coming out to Long Beach and to Young Israel?
I think it's about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know it was very special. Chaim loved the Karlbach Shabbotonim when you came out and singing the spirit.
He loved it so much. He loved Yehuda, and he loved having that big tent. Occasionally there would be other things going on at the same time. I was always nervous, how are we going to have all these different things happening? And he just basked in, he said it's a convention. He basked in that Achdus, and he was essentially the chief rabbi of Long Beach, and it's a huge void. I mean, he did so many things because he gave his whole heart over to his work.
He did. Rabbi Yehuda, you're going to make a special song for Rabbi Wakslak, or we're going to dedicate the Rebbe's duv to Rab Chaim?
As of now, it's unbelievable that I don't know if you meant it, but this song is mamish a dedication so special for Rabbi Wakslak. This is a message also to the whole Kehillah, to the whole community. I'm saying it and I mean it. The story behind that song, that when the people, the whole community showed up in the Klois was the Reb Nachman's shul, the big shul. What happened is he walked in. It was on a Rosh Hashanah. There was a lot of noise in the Klois, in the shul, and Reb Chaim, I think his name is Zev Zalewski, Reb Chaim Zalewski. He went up on the bimah and he gave a smash on the bimah and he said, "Everybody should know. We should get really serious. The Rebbe is there. He's here with us." So that's what I'm saying to everybody in Long Beach, to the whole community. Rabbi Wakslak is with you all the time. We should really We should really feel that. And Shara Shemayim, gates of heaven, with your connection to Rabbi Wakslak, all of us, we feel he's a connection to us. That the gates in Shemayim opens up with our connection to Rabbi Wakslak now, next to the Rabboni Shloilo.
Amen.
So,
I want to thank you, Yehuda Green. It's always a val to have you and Rev Naftali Sichman on the air, so thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Yaakov Weisenberg, who is currently giving the Daf Yomi, helping to run the 8:30 Minyan, and also Rabbi, who is assistant rabbi in the Rabbi Wakslak. Thank you for being on the show with us tonight.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Zev.
God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless the whole community, everybody.
Amen.
Especially to the family.
The family, to the rabbi and the family, they all. That's Yehuda Green singing is the Rabbi as we continue to pay tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak.
Well, you know what I say. Zev Brenner is the voice of Long Beach.
And we are going to be right back. And when we come back, we'll speak to Rabbi Yecheskel Rosenberg, who's Mishpacha. We'll speak to Binyamin Weinberger. We'll also be from the Pittsburgher Chassid. We'll speak to Rabbi Binyamin Silva, the current spiritual leader. We'll also hear from Simi Weber.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Hi, this is David Gabe, and you're listening to The Zev Brenner Show.
Talkline radio and TV with Zev Brenner is just phenomenal. Everybody concerned about the Jewish community should listen and watch. He has the best guests. He asks the most interesting questions. He's always so well prepared. It's talk radio and television from a Jewish point of view at its very best.
To advertise on the Talkline network and Talkline's email and social media blasts reaching over 70,000 people, please call 212-769-1925, extension 100. That's 212-769-1925, extension 100. Or email info@talklinenetwork.com.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
Harav Chaim Aaron Wakslak was a man of unique talents. First and foremost, he was completely authentic and genuine. His charm and witty humor hit a very sensitive heart and soul. He was the ultimate rabbi. He viewed his job to watch over the welfare of his congregants, from the spiritual to the financial and the emotional. The chesed he did ranged from financial to getting people jobs to just calling them to say, hey, thought you needed a phone call. I speak from a unique perspective. I started out as Marcel Weber's son, then became his Talmud and joined the Daf HaYomi 3.5 cycles ago, finally to becoming his friend as he was my mentor. We also shared a very precious experience as he grew up in Newark, New Jersey. He davened and became incredibly close to the holy Pittsburgher Rebbe Zatzal. The shtibel greatly affected the way the Rav perceived and actually davened. His heartfelt davening, which he served up with all his emotions, was just another facet of the Rav. The Rav also ran many major organizations, including HASC. I can't tell you how many times I called the rabbi to say, Rabbi, can you help such and such a kid get into camp or a program? Never once did the rabbi not come through to help that family or individual. The rabbi was always a doer. He built a shul, he built a mikveh, he brought an array of programs to Long Beach. He often expressed to me his feelings, and they were very strong. Yet he was completely diplomatic and non-confrontational in dealing with people. He developed deep relationships with people because he saw good in all people. I would love when I would get a phone call and it started, Simchala, and I knew it was the rabbi. We would speak often. He would confide in me about his family and how proud he was of his kids. When I became a chassan, he left the community to join me at my offer in Borough Park. And I can't tell you how many times I would spend at the Wakslak home just laughing with him and the family and watching the amazing partnership between the rabbi and Rebbitzin. One of the most difficult times in the Rav's life was when he lost his oldest daughter, Avigail. A year or so later, We named our daughter Abigail after her. He sent us the following note. Dear Simeon Rachel, I was truly moved, actually to tears, as I read your kind words. Knowing my Abigail Leah Shalom, I can say your nevuah for naming your daughter will be a merit for her to grow into a true Bas Yisrael, steeped in chesed and wisdom, thus being a source of nachas to you and the entire mishpacha. As you well know, Abigail translates into the joy of my father. Our Abigail brought our family nothing but joy. So may your Abigail bring you and your family only joy and happiness. Be Ahava Rabbah. I will always cherish the memories and the unique relationship I had with Harav Chaim Aaron Wakslak.
Thank you, Simi Weber. And joining us right now is Rabbi Dr. Yecheskel Rosenberg, who is a psychologist, also is a Maggid Shir, and is Mechutin for Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak, and Benjamin Weinberger, who is a Pittsburgher Chassid, who was close to the Pittsburgher Rebbe, and Dr. Chaim Wakslak as well. So, good luck. Thank you for joining us. Let me begin with you, Rabbi Dr. Yecheskel Rosenberg. Tell us about your relationship.
Oh, good luck, Zev.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you for including me in this commemoration. Actually, my relationship with Reb Chaim, Zichrono Rochog, goes back to West Orange in the early 60s. I knew his father. My uncle, Nat Turk, founded the Young Israel of West Orange. And his father, they originally were in Newark, but the Jews moved from Newark. They moved to West Orange. And I met his father, Rabbi Yisrael, there in the Young Israel, and all he could talk about was his fabulous son and how proud he was of him. Later on, we share something in common because we both got our PhDs in psychology from the same university, not at the same time, but we did share that. And at some point, I was fortunate enough, my son, Rav Yedidya, married his daughter, Dr. Yali, and they have a beautiful family together. And being his mechutin has always been a tremendous pleasure. It was very, Pete, there were all kinds of stories about how difficult it could be sometimes with mechutanim, but Reb Chaim and the Rebbetzin were always a pleasure to deal with, and it was always never any difficulties. Whenever there was something that needed to be done, he would always volunteer to do it. And we really got along fabulously. I got to see Reb Chaim in different situations. I actually worked for a while at HASC, so I did get to see his professionalism and how many hats he wore, as Shmuel talked about, the many hats that he wore at HASC, but in terms of professional, clinical, supervision, organizational, and actually he was also, it looked like to me, he was the Rav of HASC. Whenever there was an occasion, he would step up and give a Dvar Torah and present the spiritual mission of the organization. But I also had an opportunity. We spent vacations together since my son married Yali. We had an opportunity to go away. We usually would go away for Pesach, and our Pesach vacations were always determined by where Reb Chaim was going to be speaking, what program he's going to be speaking in. We got to go to a lot of interesting places. And one of the things that I noticed about, it talks about in this week's parsha, it talks about Yisro comes to Moshe and tells him that, you're doing too much, you're going to wear yourself out. So Reb Chaim apparently did a tremendous amount, right? He was always busy with something. And he also went on vacation. But even though when he was on vacation, he'd always have his phone with him. The phone would ring. In the HASC homes, it said, I remember seeing it in the group homes, there was a sign on the wall that would say, in case of emergency, call Dr. Wakslak. It didn't say only, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5,
Right, he was always available at any hour of the day, which is...
So he would get those calls. And it seemed effortless the way he would deal with things. I mean, I guess he had a lot of experience, I guess. And
I don't know when he slept, because he was up early in the morning until late at night. He was doing things, so he always had a lot on his plate, and he accomplished it. So some people don't. He did. He did so many different, took care of the smallest details. Let me turn to Benjamin Weinberger, who knows him from Pittsburgh, with part of the Pittsburgh Rebbe. So tell us about your relationship.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to you and to David Diamond for having me on the program tonight. I know the rabbi for about 18 years now, and it was interesting because the Pittsburgh Rebbe that just passed away now a few months ago told us that there's a Ingeman that was very close to his father, Rabbi from Abba from Newark. The Pittsburgh, he later on moved to Pittsburgh. His father was from Pittsburgh, the grandfather. And he said that there's a Ingeman that was very, very close to his father, and we should go visit him. So we went to the Hask office about 18 years ago, and we met with him, and we told him that the Rebbe is here. He's actually fundraising, but we want to come to him not for fundraising. We want to just, since the Rebbe said he's so close to him, just to have a nice, quiet Shabbos. There was a few people from at the show, and we have a few families here in America, and we wanted to get together. And that was one of the best things that ever happened to Pittsburgh, because besides we're getting to know Rabbi Wakslak, and it was just, we used to spend every year or two a Shabbos in Long Beach with the Kehillah, and then we started coming to the concerts that the Rabbi made, and the Rav came to our show several times to visit in Pittsburgh. I wrote down over here a few things that the Rav said when he used to come to the Yortet for the Pittsburgh Rebbe, Rabbi Brom Abba, what he spoke and what he said, and him explaining the relationship and the connection that he had to the old Rebbe, Rabbi Brom Abba from Pittsburgh. So I wrote it like this. He explained that his parents and that whole community, a lot of the people there were from Europe. And in Europe, they still had a connection to Chassidishkeit or Varmkeit. I forgot the exact words he brought down. But when they came to America, things were different. And people had a lot of challenges. And he felt that the Rebbe elevated a lot of people in the community, and specifically his father or his parents. And he'll never forget the day the Rebbe put on his film and the feeling he had till the day he spoke about it, which was 2 years ago. He said that a very important lesson he learned from the Rebbe was that to be the midah of Gevura. He said that they started out in the davening in the dining room in Newark in the show, and later on they had a basement, and only it took a long time till they were able to move into the first floor of the Bismedrash, and so much koyach and perseverance had to go into that, and that was a midah that he learned in life, and that was mashpia in him a lot. He also said that his whole life was changed by the influence since he was a little kid, playing with the Rebbe's kids, the Rebbe that was nifta this year, and with his older sisters, Rebbetzin Spiegel and L'Havdil Ben Chaim L'Chaim, the Rebbetzin Kreisler that was nifta a year ago, and the Rebbe was his Masada Kiddushin. Wow. That's all things that Rabbi Wakslak said, and now I would like to say something that the way we feel in Pittsburgh about Rabbi Wakslak. First of all, he always spoke about the Hakaras HaTov that he had for the Rebbe and what the Rebbe meant to him. That Pittsburgh really owes Rabbi Wakslak a big Hakaras HaTov. First of all, to know such a hush of a person, his drushes were just unbelievable. That was by me personally, it was the most important part of coming to Long Beach. It was so warm, it was so smart, it was so deep.
And there was a wonderful relation between the Pittsburgh Rebbe and Rabbi Chaim Wakslak. We're running out of time. I want to thank you, Benjamin Weinberger, who from Pittsburgh Chassid, very close associate of Dr. Chaim Wakslak, and Rabbi Dr. Yecheskel Rosenberg, who is a Maggid Shir, psychologist, Mechutin. Thank you for sharing some insight into Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak of blessed memory, whose yahrzeit we're commemorating tonight.
Thank you for including me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good vach. Rabbi Benjamin Silver, the spiritual leader of the English Rov Long Beach, joins us. He worked and he was an assistant rabbi under Rabbi Chaim Wakslak. So, Shavua Tov, thank you for joining us.
Shavua Tov, good vach, Zev. Always a pleasure.
I remember when you were there with Rabbi Wakslak as an assistant rabbi years ago. You were a young man before you were married. So tell us what it was like working with Rabbi Wakslak.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. As I mentioned before, my start in the Rabbanos was really a direct result of Rabbi Wakslak. At the time, I was single. and looking for my break into Rabbanis. I was still working on Smicha at the time, and I met with Rabbi Wakslak through the National Council of Young Israel. He had, I think, been looking for a youth director, which was not my forte, but he was willing to meet, and he gave me a shot. So I started coming out to Long Beach every week or so, every about 2 weeks for a while, and eventually moved to Long Beach and lived there for 2 years as an assistant rabbi.
And I'm sure it was a great experience for you. I remember you from those days fondly, and I'm glad that you're now the spiritual leader of the Young Israel of Long Beach. Anything stand out during those 2 years that you were in Long Beach?
Yeah, there was it was a great experience all around. I really got pretty close with Rabbi Wakslak, and he mentored me in many different ways. Just seeing someone who was all in. He was incredibly giving, and had so much on his plate. And as is evidenced by the fact now that that it takes 10 men to fill what he was doing in Long Beach in terms of kashrus and Eruv and running the shul and day to day and programming. He was taking care of it all, and it's unbelievable that one person was doing all of that. And you just see the impression that he's left on the city and on the shul. And I've been now in Long Beach for about 4.5 months or so, and I can't tell you how many times people have come over to me and said, Rabbi Wakslak meant so much to me personally. He helped me in such an incredible way, and you, sir, have big shoes to fill. That's been an ongoing theme, and it's true. I do have big shoes to fill.
No, and you're doing a great job at Young Israel of Long Beach, but he did everything, and I have to tell you, and you probably know that from your own experience, he didn't stand on ceremony. Whatever had to be done, he did, whether it was schlepping food, setting up, making sure people had to see where to sit, a seat where at the lectures and shuls. No matter what it was, he was there doing it, and he helped people. And I think he was a man of tremendous learning, but he also was a man of tremendous compassion. He helped so many people that he did a stille hate. It was not done for publicity. I don't even know a fraction of what he did, but he did a tremendous amount, and you probably witnessed that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was always involved in so many different things. It's it was constant, and as you said, there was never standing on ceremony. I know he used to schlep the kiddush. He liked a caterer in Brooklyn, and he used to schlep the kiddush himself. And there was not that wasn't beneath him. On the contrary, if he could help and take care of it, then he just did it. And he was just a doer. I think if you had to have one word to summarize Rabbi Wakslak, it was a doer. He got it done and just made it happen, which is that's what you need, and that's leadership. People have been talking about so many different aspects. I know he wanted to make sure that the kashrus of the institutions in Long Beach the establishments was up to par, and so he just made it happen. If that was him getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning almost every day before he gave the daf at 5:30 or 5:45, that's just what he did. He just made it happen, and no ceremony and no expectation of any sort of covet. Just did what needed to be done to ensure that the community continued to grow and continued to thrive.
Absolutely, and like you said, he did it, made sure it was done, and I admire that he was able to accomplish so much. And as you said, it takes a lot of people to do what he did. It just as one individual. So we appreciate your sharing that with us. Any final thoughts that you have about Rabbi Wakslak and your time that you were here?
I would just end with this is a huge loss that the Young Israel of Long Beach community and the broader Long Beach community still very much feel to this day. And I hope this program is Lili Nishmaso. Tomorrow, the Young Israel of Long Beach is hosting an Askara tomorrow night. We'll have some serious speeches and some great memories from different people that grew up here, and it promises to be a great program. And I hope that I will continue to lead the congregation and really the city to building on his legacy and continue in the direction that he really established.
Much continued success. If people want to log on or get more information about the tribute to Rabbi Wakslak, which is going to be done through the Young Israel of Long Beach. How can they access that information?
Yeah, it's mostly over email, but it should also be on the Young Israel of Long Beach website, which is undergoing some renovation at the moment, but they can try there, yilb.org.
Rabbi Benjamin Silver, spiritual leader, Young Israel of Long Beach, thank you for sharing some thoughts tonight.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Good Tvach.
Good Tvach.
Okay, this is Nelson Spees, president of the Young Israel of Long Beach. Reshut Harav, dear rabbis, Rebbetzin Wakslak and family, and congregants. We are gathered tonight to commemorate the first yortzeit of Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak, Zechor Sadik Libracha. It's hard to believe it's been a year. For all of us, it has been a very difficult year since we lost our Rav. We all cherish so many memories. Tonight, we will hear from many of the rabbis and speakers who will share some of these beautiful memories. The Rav to me was like an older, wiser brother with his incredible kindness, his sense of humor, his famous gematrias, his Daf Yomi, his Tuesday night Torah class that ran for 18 incredible years are moments that my family and I will cherish our whole lives. He had a very special way with each one of us. I remember when we were relatively new to the community and the Rav organized the purchase of an ambulance for Magen Adom during the war with Lebanon. His focus on supporting Israel and many Jewish causes was a top priority. When the war with Gaza broke out and we were all worried and wanted to help in some way, the rabbi invited Rachel Heisler, president of American Friends of Soroka Hospital, to Long Beach to enable us to help the communities of southern Israel and the wounded IDF soldiers. Like this, we all remember how many Sunday breakfasts were held for yeshivas and Jewish organizations that our Rav felt were so important. He took care of every detail. Simchat Torah was unbelievable. The Rav's koach through each of the hakafas was amazing. Purim, who could ever forget his Purim spiel? With his incredible sense of humor, he made us all laugh. We can all remember the Shabbatons with the Pittsburgher Rebbe, Setzal, and his Talmidim, the memories of marching in the Memorial Day Parade of Long Beach. He taught us all the value of Jewish patriotism to the USA. So many life lessons that we learned from him, I can't even begin to list them all. It was so special to come to shul and to see and hear him every Shabbos. I would like to share a story that I heard from Rabbi Jacobson this week, which I think defines our Rav and how lucky we were. In 1963, in Masada, following the detailed writings of Josephus, the Israeli archaeologist Yigdal Yadin discovered a food storage area where the Jews of Masada stored their food. He found date seeds that from the era of the Beit Sheni and sent them to Bar Ilan University in Tel Aviv. In 2005, an Israeli botanist, Dr. Levy, wanted to do an experiment and take these seeds from the year 73 from our common era and plant them. The idea was to be able to eventually taste the same dates that our ancestors ate at the time of the second Beit HaMikdash. The botanist did not have a lot of hope that these seeds that were buried for 2,000 years, which were lifeless, abandoned, decayed, and dried, would be able to grow. The botanist was amazed when several months later they saw a crack in the earth and a sapling growing. And a few months later, a young palm tree began growing. They named the tree Metzutzela after the man who lived 960 years, the longest lifetime mentioned in the Torah. They were disappointed to learn that this was a male tree and would never be able to produce dates. A true disappointment. However, the botanist, Dr. Levy, did not give up, and she went searching for more seeds when one day in the Judean desert near Jericho, they found more seeds not far from the Qumran caves. This is where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. The seeds that they found came from Beit Rishon era, They did not think that it could happen again, but they planted these seeds in Kibbutz Ketera in the Negev. How shocked they were when again they saw a sapling after a few months that grew into a tree with flowers. In other words, a female tree. This tree was named Hannah for the mother of Shmuel that could not have any children. So now came the time for a shidduch, and they took pollen from the Metzuselah male palm tree and pollinated the Hannah tree flowers and prayed for a miracle. Recently, they harvested the first incredible dates that they were permitted to eat. These dates were filled with devash, honey, date honey. The scientists then plucked these luscious dates that came from the match of seeds from Beit Rishon era and Beit Sheni era. They made a bracha, Borei Priya Etz and Shehiyanu. They were emotional and crying because these dates had survived 2 Churbans, the Holocaust, and now they were again being eaten by Yidden in Medinat Israel. Similarly, our Rav saw in our Kehillah seeds of neshamas that carried in their DNAs the history of our ancestors, Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rivka, Yaakov, Rachel, Leah, Moshe, Rabbeinu, Yeshua, and the Rishonim, the Tanaim, the Haronim, and our grandparents and great-grandparents. Our Rav brought the sunlight, the water, and the earth to nourish our neshamas. Just like the ancient seeds came back to life, our Rav never underestimated the deep spiritual vibrancy of every Yid he met. He never fell for the external. He understood that each one of us carried in our neshamas a helik of our Creator. Just like the seeds of Israel have a DNA of 2,500 years, our neshamas have the DNA of 3,800 years of Jewish history. He understood that if you give a Yid sunlight, Varentite, water, Mayim Torah, earth, Nafshi Kafti B'Aliyah, humility and vulnerability, this would bring a miracle. Our Rav never lost hope and believed till his last days that Long Beach would continue to grow. The Rav left in each one of us his helik that he planted in us like the seeds. He took with him all the mitzvah and part of the helik beautiful dates that he nourished in us, and that was his tikkun olam. Every day when we say the brachas prior to the Shema, Or Chadash al Sion Tachir v'niske kulanu mechada leoro, Baruch atah Hashem yoser ha'meorot, may you shine a new light on Zion, and may we all speedily merit its light. Blessed are you, Hashem, who fashioned the luminaries. I think of Rabbi Wakslak, Zechor Sadik Lebracha, and how he lit the luminaries for us. We ask Hashem to comfort the Wakslak family and our congregants. May his neshama have an aliyah. May we continue to live the rabbi's memories and make them part of our lives. I would like to thank the rabbis, Hassan Lemmer, the committee, sponsors, and congregants that participated. As a tribute to the Rav, we are planning to rename the Young Israel of Long Beach in his honor and memory. May we be sohi to hear and share Besoros Tovos B'Yisrat Hashem. Kol Tuv.
And there you have it, our special tribute on the yahrzeit of Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak of blessed memory, who I knew for so many years, and I can tell you I met many different rabbanim and rabbis and leaders. He was a leader. He is missed by me and our listeners, those that know him. He had a tremendous impact on the community. He and his wife, Rebbetzin, she lived for many years, really gave and continued to give. The Rebbetzin continues to do so much chesed. And you have rabbis who are great in learning, which he was, big Talmud Chacham, but also was a big Rav Chesed in Chesed, as you heard in our special broadcast tonight. May his memory be a blessing.
Thanks for listening.